Thanks for joining us on Rapid Sport this beautiful Wednesday evening. Well, I am Ijoma Victor, but let's head straight to CAF, where the Confederation of African Football CAF has announced its official team of the tournament for the 2025 African Cup of Nations, with Super Eagles claiming 3 prestigious spots following their impressive bronze medal finish in Morocco. Now, the best 11, dominated by Champions League Senegal and runners-up Morocco, recognizes outstanding performances across the competition, but Nigerians representatives are Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, and Calvin Bassey. Yes, they stood out for their pivotal contributions to the Super Eagles' strong campaign. Now, Nigerians' 3 inclusions highlight the depth and quality of the Super Eagles squad. Defender Calvin Bassey anchored a resilient backline with commanding display, solid aerial presence, and key interceptions that helped Nigeria reach the semi-finals. His versatility and composure under pressure earned him a deserved place amongst the continent's elite defenders. Now in the midfield, Ademola Lookman dazzled with his creativity, dribbling and goal threats consistently, unlocking the defenses and contributing crucial assists and strikes. Leading the attack is Victor Osimhen, delivered powerhouse performance up front, terrorizing opposition's defense with his pace, strength and clinical finish. The Galatasaray forward's goal and relentless pressing were instrumental in Nigeria's run to third place, cementing his status as one of Africa's top talent. The recognitions underscores Nigeria's competitive showing and set a strong foundation for our future campaign, with fans praising the Troy well-earned honors on social media. Now, also on this list, 3 African Footballer of the Players, 2 present, probably 2 former, and 1 present. Yes, the present is Hashrif Hakimi. Then we have 2 former, that's Victor Osimhen and also Ademola Lookman. Let's also tell you that the Franco-Malian tactician in the person of Eric Schell, who is currently under contract with the Nigerian Football Federation until January 2027, has attracted growing interest following his impressive outing with the Super Eagles. Now, reports indicate that Schell has already turned down an approach from Tunisia, preferring to remain focused on his current assignment with Nigeria for now. Now, despite his existing deal, sources close to the situation have told reporters that both Angola and Gabon are keen on luring Schell with lucrative offer as they look to strengthen their national team ahead of the upcoming international competitions. Now, meanwhile, Schell is expected to meet with officials of the Nigerian Football Federation in their coming days, to discuss his future. Now, the talk are understood to be aimed at reaffirming commitment, clarifying long-term plans, and possible reviewing contractual terms amid rising external interest. Now, the outcome of the meeting could prove decisive in determining whether Nigeria can retain the highly rated coach or face a potential battle to keep him beyond the short term. Okay, let's see how it pans out. He has already turned down that of the Carthage Eagles, now the Palencras Negras of Angola, and we'll also see that of Gabon. Now, before our guests will join us via Zoom, let's take this interview of Sunday Oliseh speaking about that outburst that led Nigeria not to even get to the final. Talking about the outburst of Victor Osimhen. Yes, former Nigerian captain Sunday Oliseh has said Victor Osimhen should be held responsible for the country's failure to win the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Sunday.
Let's look at the pitch and the toxicity that might have cost us this AFCON title. We are confusing talent with license. Victor Osimhen is world-class, but talent is not a license to destroy team chemistry. Look at the evidence. Since that public outburst against Ademola Lookman, one of our brightest lights, Lookman became a shadow of himself, and we lost the bite. When you publicly diminish your teammates, you break their spirit. You destroy the very confidence a team needs to survive a semi-final. Against a team as tactically sharp as Morocco, we needed our best players at 100%. Statistically, Ademola Lookman was the most dangerous player in the tournament until that public verbal abuse broke his focus. You cannot expect a playmaker to perform miracles on the pitch when he has been demoralized by his own teammate. The conflict did its damage. We didn't just lose a game, we lost the psychological edge we needed to win. What is worse, and frankly, what is most dangerous for our football, is the fan culture that now tolerates this. We have reached a point where anybody who dares to point out the truth is immediately attacked or threatened online by a mob of followers. We are breeding a culture of entitlement where the player is treated as a god and the nation is treated as an afterthought. When did it become a crime to demand discipline? Scoring goals for Nigeria doesn't give you a license to disrespect certified legends like Finidi George or Victor Osimhen. It doesn't give you the right to disrespect coaches or teammates. If goals alone justified arrogance, what should the legends who actually put Nigeria at the pinnacle of world football, like Amokachi, Amunike, Okocha, Babangida, and myself, do? Walk on people's heads? No. We respected the jersey. We realized that victory is temporary, but character is permanent. Our untouchable star was subbed off 3 minutes before the most important penalty shootout of the tournament versus Morocco. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Before the final in Rabat, a video went viral of the Super Eagles celebrating widely for winning third place against Egypt. In the media tribune where I sat, I watched as African and European pundits mocked us. They couldn't believe it. There was a time when the Super Eagles shed tears at second place, because to us, anything but the trophy was a failure. Celebrating third place builds a culture of mediocrity. We must remember, the decline of our dominance began exactly when we started being content with bronze. If we want to be Africa's best again, the wild celebration for anything less than gold must stop.
Skipper Sunday Oliseh, yes, criticizing what's his name again, Victor Osimhen after that game. Well, let's see how that will. But we have our guest who will be joining us on the other side via Zoom, and we will be looking at this, this point being raised by Sunday Oliseh. Yes, he's actually a football analyst, also a Super Eagles fan. So maybe he'll be following, what's his name again, Sunday Oliseh, the way he's saying that crowd of mobs, when you attack somebody, they attack you immediately online. But let's see how we can... James Chimezien, yes, joining us via Zoom this evening. James, it's good to have you, if you can hear me. Hello to you, James.
Yes, I can hear you. Sports Minister on radio. Good to join you up on your program.
Okay, I am not on radio this time. I'm on TV. So probably you drop the Sport Minister.
Yes, you're on TV now. Yes.
Okay, we'll just leave that name aside. Sport Minister on radio. We'll talk about that one later. Well, it's good to have you, James.
So we are going to now give you the Sports Minister on TV and radio.
It's good to have you, James. It's good to have you, really. Okay, let's go straight. Time is now, friend. Let's look at Sunday Oliseh. I asked you earlier if you actually followed what Sunday said, and you said yes. Now he has blamed Victor Osimhen. That's why we couldn't lift the trophy. That is one. He talked about him being arrogant. That is true. And then he also talked about fans coming out to really attack anyone that talks or probably talk down on some of these things. And he mentioned about discipline. But let's just have an overview from you concerning Sunday Oliseh.
Thank you, Sports Minister. It's rather unfortunate that we now have these former players who are retired, who are supposed to be somewhat of not just advisory role, but also position of encouraging this current crop of Super Eagles players, especially with the challenges they've had to face in representing the country. Yes, I saw the podcast days ago where Sunday Oliseh said a whole lot about singling out Victor Osimhen in particular. But if we recall correctly, this will not be the first time he will be singling out Victor Osimhen. if some of us who followed proceedings can clearly remember the first match where Nigeria played Tanzania, he was on, I think he was on commentary duty with one of the channels, and it was really embarrassing hearing him on Victor Osimhen all game. All game, despite the fact that that was a really impressive performance from the Eagles. Now, it's clear. Nigerians are not choosing to stand behind Victor Osimhen because they enjoy his arrogance. If we are personality has a whole lot to do with his style of play. Victor Osimhen is one player who embodies his physicality and passion by his aggression. And it is one thing that has affected his style of play. Now, let us even look at the Eagles' performances so far. I was one of the persons who was very, very critical about the appointment of Eric Chell back then in your days on the radio station, because that employment didn't follow the due process we expected. Some of us had hoped that these indigenous coaches that had come forward then would have been interviewed the normal way interviews are done. You look at their pedigree and what they are bringing to the table. But there was no interview, and then the appointment of Eric Chell was announced. Yes, that deed had been done. But now, going forward, we all saw the performances of the Eagles in the World Cup qualifiers. And a whole lot of Nigerians were disappointed and still are disappointed with the fact that we will not be going to the World Cup. But then coming into the Nations Cup, we saw a different Eagles. We saw an Eagles we had not seen in a long time. And then this is the point where Nigerians decided that, okay, given the fact that, yes, we've had bad performances before now, despite the fact that the NFF had really taken the Eagles and the Nigerian football down to a level we have never seen before, let us come behind these Eagles and support them. And they paid back the fate of Nigerians with the performances we saw right from the Tanzania game up until Morocco. Yes, it is unfortunate we lost out to the Moroccans via penalties. But then, can we really say what transpired? Because Victor Oliseh is trying to say Osimhen was responsible for Lookman losing focus and then not being himself up until the game. But then, this was what happened in the Mozambican game. Are we saying Lookman's focus was still there while we played the Algerians and we won? It wasn't Osimhen's fault. But at the point where we were playing the Moroccans without our most influential midfielder, who was suspended in Didi. If you notice, if you watch the game, we lost that match in the midfield because the Moroccans studied the Eagles very well and made sure they cut off supply from the middle. Alex Iwobi was completely man-marked and starved of the ball. And we all know in this tournament, Iwobi has been nicknamed Iwobinho because we saw the threaded passes, how he was connecting the defense, the midfield, and the attack. Iwobi was behind every creativity that the Eagles enjoyed all the way from the group stages up until the third place finish. So for anyone to come out and say, Victor Osimhen is just, the person is just trying to incite problem. Now, this is the craziness with what is even happening. If Victor Osimhen responds, we now get the whole reaction of, oh, he doesn't respect his elders. But then, if Sunday Oliseh, in his capacity as a former captain and a former coach of the Super Eagles, had anything to say, there are different channels he would have been able to pass his message across.
But wait, James.
This is the same this is the same Sunday Oliseh, who we all recall is famed to have had formed a cabal with Finidi George right after the even running to the 2002 Nations Cup.
Yes, you're actually taking this now out of, you're taking this question out of me. You just mentioned Sunday Oliseh and Finidi George, because I remember this all started when Finidi George was appointed as Super Eagles head coach, and I think Victor Osimhen was invited to camp, and one way or the other, he was not available in camp for Finidi George. I think this is where all these things started, knowing fully well that Finidi George is also in the same, when I say the same class of 94, 95, 96 squad, that did well for the Super Eagles. So are we now saying that Oliseh is actually angry with Victor Osimhen for disrespecting Finidi George? He also mentioned Victor Ekpema. All of them are also in the same class.
Exactly. Now, see, it is really embarrassing, the situation we find ourselves, where those who are supposed to be in their position by virtue of the experiences they have gathered to be the ones helping shape the Eagles. Now, this is an Eagles team in transition. Yes, you just mentioned the fact that Finidi George was... Now, the irony with what happened between Finidi and Osimhen then was, this was the same era where an Umar Sadiq was invited to the Super Eagles and for some reason left the camp, but I think he claimed to have left the camp then due to an injury, but then happened to play a league match for his club days later. There was no uproar from anyone. Yes. There was no attack. Yes, I don't know if you remember that. There was no attack from anyone. There was no uproar. In fact, he even still got an invite back to the Super Eagles. Why is that of Victor Osimhen different? We all know how some of these clubs add clauses to the conditions they give before they let play their national team assignment. We all know how Victor Osimhen was struggling with his debacle with Napoli and him getting a transfer back then. It was the same way his transfer with Napoli was blown out of proportion. And we had so many persons who, including the same Sunday Oliseh, who claimed that Victor Osimhen was going to regret a move that does not end up in the Premier League. Can we all say Victor Osimhen is regretting that now? See, these players need to learn to respect themselves. Our people back here say, respect is reciprocal. It is whom you give respect to that you will get respect from. So far, Victor Osimhen has not responded to what Oliseh said. But we all know the moment he does, in his manner, all hell is going to let loose. And then we are going to get the whole, Victor Osimhen is arrogant. We have the likes of General Gattuso, who was all physical, who was all vibrant, who was all aggressive. I've never heard anyone come to say, Gattuso was disrespectful to his fellow teammates. Yes, it was unfortunate what happened at the Nations Cup. It was, could Victor Osimhen have handled that better? Yes, he could have. But then that was handled and it was treated at the team level. In fact, the NFF and everybody came out to say, see, this issue is dead and forgone. So why is Sunday Oliseh trying to hit up the policy? Okay. Why is he trying to hit up the sentiment, whip up sentiment, and then and start all this? This is really becoming a pattern, and it is not good for our football.
It's really becoming a pattern, and it's really not good for our football. Now, let's leave Oliseh aside, in as much as we'll still try and link up all this together. Is Victor truly arrogant? Let's look at this, because it mentioned him being an arrogant person, and at the same time, it talked about repeated pattern also in the Super Eagles. Now, is discipline. Now, that was the word he used. Discipline. Now, is Victor Osimhen truly arrogant?
Yes.
Yeah, is he really arrogant from all that we have seen, especially at the Nations Cup?
Mr. Victor, now, arrogance, if we are to look at the arrogance they are trying to portray and paint, I don't think an arrogant Victor Osimhen would agree to come to the Nations Cup, considering the fact that this was a team that didn't look like a team coming into the Nations Cup. Considering the fact that this was a team that at the Nations Cup we heard they were still being owed. This was a team that, aside the trio of Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, and Alex Iwobi, there was no other big names like we would attribute it to. An arrogant Victor Osimhen would have been hearing, thank God we are not hearing the fact that, Victor Osimhen is arrogant and then he's deciding what players are invited to the Super Eagles. Or we are not hearing that, oh, Victor Osimhen is arrogant and then he's deciding who plays and who doesn't play. Yes, like I stated earlier, Victor Osimhen is a controversial player because of his style of play, because of how he expresses his emotions. But can we term that emotions, can we term it to be arrogance? It's the same way he was misinterpreted to mean that, oh, okay, he was being arrogant by wanting to leave Napoli. Many people didn't know what he was facing while he was in Napoli. Many people didn't know the challenges he was facing. Imagine the kind of contracts that were being laid before him for him to accept. But now, for him to show that he was humble, many persons would have been comfortable with the fact that, oh, okay, he accepts a move to, say, United, and then he's paid peanuts, or the terms that he wants for a player who finished in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or rankings. Come on. Come on. Victor Osimhen has earned everything. He has earned his place. This is a player who's a few goals away from being the highest goal scorer of the Super Eagles has ever seen. And the closest person who is actively playing football is not even up to how many goals, I cannot remember. So I do not believe that anybody can come out and say Victor Osimhen is an arrogant player without saying that from a place of bias or some form of sentiments.
Okay, now James, still looking at what Sunday Oliseh said, he made mention of online, fans coming to social media to mob at him, or probably, yes, mob at him if eventually this gets out. And now you are actually on the defense of Victor Osimhen. Now, this is your own opinion. Do you think that other fans of the school of thought will also want to go with you or with Sunday Oliseh? Let's look at those fans who are actually looking at Osimhen as a potential striker that Nigeria has, and also looking at his character at play with the team.
Yes, there are two kinds of people who would look at any issue. Either they can decide to look at it constructively, or we have those who would choose to see a half-filled cup. And then we have those who would choose to see a half-empty cup. Now, Victor Osimhen, like I stated earlier, he is a very controversial figure when you look at his the aggression he brings. But now, it is okay for any fan out there to say, oh, okay, no, Victor Osimhen, we don't think we need him in the Super Eagles. But then, if you do not need a Victor Osimhen in the Super Eagles, who do you need in the Super Eagles? We saw what transpired in the first few games where Victor Osimhen was benched. When he had the whole issue he had with Finidi, where a whole lot of us still believe that for the fact that we needed a result, we needed to manage whatever situation it was then to get the result, which was what even happened during the time of Sunday Oliseh. Sunday Oliseh, and this was the golden generation of the Super Eagles players. Then where we had Kanu Nwankwo, we had Sunday Oliseh, we still had Nwankwo Kanu, we had JJ Okocha, we had Garuba Lawal, and the rest of them, and Ike Shoromu in goal with Taribo West and Joseph Yobo. They had just qualified for the World Cup then, and immediately after the Nations Cup, where they finished third, Sunday Oliseh and Finidi George were sent out of the team. And then because of the same issue, there were rumors that there were these cabals that were deciding what players were coming into the Super Eagles to get. So when you have gotten the result you need, you can decide to now start shaping the team the way you want. We saw how disastrous the Super Eagles performance at the World Cup after that removal. After the removal of Finidi, Oliseh, and the likes of them. We also saw what happened with the Eagles when Sunday Oliseh, who then claimed he was trying to instill discipline and all, led to the unceremonious retirement of Vincent Enyama from the Eagles. When Vincent came late for, I can't remember, a match he came late for, I think he said he went for a burial or something, and then the hammer was let down on him because, oh, okay, you came late. Yes, there were senior players who some of the excuses can be at least acceptable for you to get the result you need. At this point in time, remember we invited Sunday Oliseh to strike for the Eagles. Then Nigerians were calling for Victor Osimhen to be removed from the Eagles, and we have a new shape strike force. We all saw what our strike force looked like. For now, the best we have is Victor Osimhen. And so far, I have not seen anything that he has done that is looking like he's been divisive in camp. We have not heard anybody say there are fights in camp. In fact, the last time he was dragged, he stated categorically that one of the reasons why he decides to express his passion for the Eagles the way he does was the fact that for every time the Eagles do not perform, he is always the one held responsible.
Exactly.
And this is exactly what we are seeing. Now the Eagles have performed beyond expectations, not like they performed well, but they performed beyond expectations because the truth and reality is going into the Nations Cup, you and I and hundreds of millions of Nigerians did not know what to expect of the Super Eagles. But for some reason, Eric Chell was able to, at least, we saw a different Super Eagles from the Eagles we saw during the World Cup qualifiers. You and I can attest to the fact that if these Eagles now were to play the World Cup qualifiers again, or to play the playoffs with Congo, they go collect. that is the reality we are now facing.
James,
I choose.
We're looking at time now, but we'll still come to that playoffs. Now let's look at Eric Chell as a coach. You earlier said, and I remember that in the WhatsApp group where we normally discuss, many didn't like the appointment of Eric Chell. I can remember that vividly. And now he has proved doubters wrong. Now, so far so good. From his first Nations Cup was in Ivory Coast. That was 2023. They crashed out in the quarterfinals with Mali. And now he went as far to the semifinals and we clinched a bronze medal. The Carthage Eagles, or probably the FA in Tunisia, approached him $100,000 and they turned that down. Now the latest news coming is Angola and Gabon also seeking his services. His contract with NFF still till 2027. But now, Eric Chell as a coach, will you be expecting the NFF to do the needful quickly? Because we know how we can delay when it comes to issues like this. Are you expecting them to do the needful quickly? Or you should expect Eric Chell to look somewhere else? Because Eric Chell seriously has his heart with the Super Eagles. What's your take on that?
Yes, I was one of, like I stated earlier, I was one of those who was very critical about the appointment of Eric Chell when he was initially appointed, because there wasn't really much on his plate for us to see what he was going to serve us. But now, in looking at the Nations Cup that just ended, it would be counterproductive for anyone to say, oh, let us do away with Eric Chell and then get somebody else to start the whole rebuilding process again. Now, Eric Chell has shown faith with the Eagles and the Nigerian Football Federation by sticking with the Super Eagles, despite claims of him being owed wages. I would expect the NFF to show some form of, because see, at this point, Nigerians have absolutely no trust whatsoever where the NFF currently are, especially with all the allegations we have been seeing all over the social media and what led to the dismal performance of the Eagles at the World Cup qualifiers. I would expect the NFF to do the needful and sign him up, if possibly extend his contract. Yes, so far, this is where we have gotten. Now, there are ways we can put clauses that would point to visible progression that you would see, that everybody will see with the Eagles. Now, CAF has done a whole lot of redesigning that is going to be to the advantage of the Eagles and every other African nation with the coming of the CAF Nations League. Now we're going to have yes, we're going to have about 3 or 2 Nations Cup between now and 2029. No, between now and 2029,
Yes.
and then the Nations League commences in 2029. So one would expect that the mandate should be, okay, what you have done so far, improve on it. Let us now see, because the next Nations Cup, we shouldn't just be looking at just participating. We should be looking at dominating. Now, this is an Eagles team in transition, like I said. A whole lot of the players are reaching that age where between now and then they will be reaching their
peak.
Close to retirement age and all. So this is the time where we expect the NFF to now go back to the drawing board, which I do not expect them to do, because so far they have not shown faith in doing that. There has not been one single player that has transitioned from the under-17 to the under-23 in the last couple of years.
Exactly.
In fact, Victor Osimhen and Osimhen were the last underage players to transition into the Super Eagles. And Kelechi Iheanacho, yes, were the last to transition into the Super Eagles. Now check the number of years, but I think that should be 2013 or so.
Yes.
Now check between 2013 and now. It is an indictment on the NFF that there has not been one progress down the age grade ranks of the Super Eagles, which now takes me to what I have always been canvassing for. For us to see any change in the Super Eagles and the NFF, you see the whole technical committee, they must go. But for now, let us focus on the Super Eagles.
How is that possible when they keep recycling the same technical committee in the NFF and they still recycle the same executive in the NFF? So how is that possible? Now, elections will definitely go down this year. The NFF election will go down this year. So is there any tendency that we will see changes in the executive? Well, I really don't know. James, truly, time is not our friend. We would have really gone with this discussion, but hopefully, when you have that time, you'll be coming to the studio and we'll discuss this, breaking it down, and see how to go, how that will pan out. Because definitely, this AFCON, these Super Eagles, will be the talking point on everyone's lips for a very long time. Now, before I let you go, Sunday Oliseh said something. And he said that the NFF is now looking for a route administratively for Nigeria to go to the World Cup because we didn't qualify using goals and everything like that. Now, and NFF also have come out to say that they only did what is by the books. You did something wrong and we followed it to the latter. Sunday Oliseh also said that these same players from DR Congo are the same players that played at the Nations Cup. So why would Nigeria be going straight to complain to FIFA? But in your last word, for just like a minute, what will you say about this?
It is just an embarrassment. Like the first time I saw it, I laughed hard about it because this is the NFF just trying to distract Nigerians with, oh, okay, we are doing all we can. There is no, that particular case has no, in fact, let us just stop wasting our time. The NFF is just chasing shadows. It's as simple as that.
Wait, James, are you saying there is no merit to that case?
There is no merit, that particular, yes, there is no merit whatsoever in that case.
the present chairman of the National Sports Commission, in the person of Malam Shehu Diko, has said they've done the needful, including the Secretary General. They said they've done the needful and they've monitored it, they've done their research. They've also discussed with international lawyers, and the same thing that happened to Malaysia FA is the same thing that will happen to DR Congo. And you say there's no merit to this?
I would have loved to send you links of FIFA recognizing those same players. In fact, there's something some of these are technocrats, or some of these men, because they are not technocrats. Because if they were actually technocrats, they would have known that there is so much information now for everyone that everyone has at their beck and call for you to see. This is, like I said, this is just them trying to distract Nigerians. I choose to want to focus on the positives of the Nations Cup. Let them continue to distract themselves. And then at the end of the day, they will say, oh, we have done all we can. But then it wasn't. The only way for them to have gone to the World Cup was the playoffs. The other way they would have gone to the World Cup was if Senegal had actually forfeited playing that final because of the call. Then they would have been suspended by FIFA. Then the NFL would have been running around chasing shadows all over again.
Now you want this discussion to really go on. Now you've talked about Senegal. Are you sure Senegal definitely will receive the sanction? But will FIFA do anything concerning that sanction?
No, not at all. Senegal will receive a sanction, but not the team. Some players are definitely going to receive sanctions. The technical team is going to receive sanctions because the excuse is going to be that it was the coach that asked the players to walk out. Remember, they walked out of the pitch and then they walked back in and completed the game. So the sanction is only going to be meted out on the technical team, maybe the FA, and I also expect the FA to fight this. It is just them chasing shadows.
They should receive the sanction because you shouldn't walk out because I don't know what you went to do in the dressing room. There was no instance of camera picking what to do, what you went to do in the dressing room. So you shouldn't have even gone to the dressing room when play is still on. So the sanction should really come heavily on Senegal, and that's why they are the champions of Africa.
Yes. Definitely the sanctions will come. Remember, Samuel Eto'o himself was sanctioned for complaining to the CAF president in the executive box for what he saw as clear and obvious bias in the officiating of the Cameroon game. So I expect the fines and sanctions not to go beyond bans for the technical team. There may be possibly some of the players at best. I do not expect CAF to sanction the entire FA.
Okay. Thank you so much, James Chimezie, a sports analyst. I truly appreciate you for your time. You have made the evening worthwhile for me and everyone here in the studio. Hopefully, we'll get your physical presence.
Thank you, Mr. Victor.
So that we can do the needful. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Victor. I hope to join you up when I can.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was James Chimezie analyzing those words from former Super Eagles captain and skipper Sunday Oliseh. Hopefully we'll have him here in the studio. This is where we'll blow the final whistle on Sport, Rapid Sport this beautiful Wednesday evening. Hopefully you join me live at 8:30 a.m. on the Breakfast Show for Rapid Sport Highlights. Do you have yourself a wonderful evening? Thanks.